We are 1 week away from pitchers and catchers reporting to Pittsburgh Pirates spring training. And as we close in on the beginning of baseball season, we close out our two-part X Factor series here on my YouTube channel at Nick Belsky. Last week, we gave you the pitching X Factor for the Pirates in 2026, and that was Braxton Ashcraft. Now, let's look at an offensive X Factor because that's the side of the baseball that the Pirates desperately need to see people step up in. The X Factor could be one of many players. It could be their offseason big fish acquisition in Brandon Lowe. It could be the first player since 2016 to get a multi-year contract out of free agency in Ryan O'Hearn. It could be Brian Reynolds because that's what he was signed to do when he signed that contract extension a few years ago. It could be Henry Davis because that's what he was drafted to do at first overall a few years back. Or maybe it could be Konnor Griffin, the number one prospect in baseball, somebody who has all the makings of a star player at the MLB level. But at the end of the day, I got to go with Oneil Cruz. The only one that was close in my mind was Konnor Griffin. But I picked Cruz over Griffin because simply I don't know when Konnor Griffin is going to make it to the MLB. Could he make it by opening day? Sure, he could. Could he start in AAA? I think that's the most likely scenario. Could he start in AA? I would be quite upset if he did, but I wouldn't rule it out. So that uncertainty with where Konnor Griffin starts this season is why I'm giving it to Oneil Cruz. And again, it was those two, then it was a gap, then it was the rest. It's not that they're not important. It's not that their turnarounds won't significantly impact the Pirates offense. It's that the ceiling will be raised significantly if one of and or both Konnor Griffin and Oneil Cruz have a tremendous season at the plate. Specifically, Oneil Cruz, because we know he's your opening day starting center fielder. Oneil Cruz had a season last year that I think, to put it lightly, did not meet expectations. It was his first full season in center field. He had some extreme highs, some plays that he made that only he could make, which is the reason that we've seen him shift into center field. Even some plays where it looked routine, but the only reason it was routine is because it was Oneil Cruz, and he's a 6'7" alien. But he also had some lows in the outfield, some growing pains, which you come to expect for a player playing one of the most difficult positions on the diamond for the first time in his career. At the plate, however, it was more lows than anything. Finished with a 200 batting average, a 298 on base percentage, and a 677 or 676 OPS. It was a rough year at the plate for Oneil Cruz. And the most frustrating thing about him last season was that he was caught in between a lot. He was trying to minimize strikeouts by having a better approach, becoming a professional hitter at the plate. And in doing so, he minimized his greatest impact on the game, which is his power. How many times did Oneil Cruz strike out looking at a pitch right down the middle? Because he was overthinking his approach. Because that approach shouldn't be the way that Oneil Cruz is trying to play the game. He needs to be aggressive. Because if not, you take away his greatest asset, which is the fact that anytime he makes contact, the ball is coming out at 90 plus miles an hour. More often than not, it's coming out around 100 plus miles an hour and could sometimes reach the StatCast record, which was, I believe, 122 miles an hour on one of the home runs he hit last year. He needs to continuously take swings at the ball. Now, don't chase, but he needs to find a middle ground between that ultra-conservative approach from last year and what made him so great during the 2024 season. But even with all those struggles last year, he finished with 20 home runs. He led the Pirates in home runs. He also finished with 38 stolen bases, which led the entire National League and was fourth in the entire MLB. He was fourth in the MLB in stolen bases despite having an on-base percentage of under 300. The guy continues to show how much potential he has. And I think this is the year that he can put it all together. And why? Why do I have that belief? Why is this year any different? Well, for one, he has some lineup protection. He's not the only guy that pitchers are going to be trying to avoid. Brandon Lowe helps with that considerably. Ryan O'Hearn helps with that considerably. Even Jake Mangum, who came over this offseason, had a almost 300 batting average last year, 296 for the Tampa Bay Rays. If you have guys that can get on base, then pitchers don't have to pitch away from Oneil Cruz. You force pitchers to stay in the zone against Oneil, and when they're in the zone and they're not pitching into out as much as they did last year, he's going to be able to take advantage. Not only that, the experience of being in center field for a full season last year is going to help him at the plate this season. He understands the toll it's going to take on his body to play that position. He understands when he needs to push it and when he needs to pull back. He has an idea of what it's going to feel like and how to persevere through that exhaustion that you get playing center field. He's built up the lung capacity to know, hey, this is what I'm going to have to do, and now I can do it. So I think because he has a full year under his belt in center field, that's going to help him at the plate as well. And then eventually, it all comes back to Konnor Griffin. Konnor Griffin has elevated teammates at every level he's played at. He did it last year in single A, he did it last year in high A, and he did it last year in double A. The most well-known example is Termarr Johnson. Go back and look at the season Termarr Johnson had before Konnor Griffin got called up to Altoona and after Konnor Griffin got called up to Altoona. I'm not saying it's all because of Konnor, but I'm saying it seriously helps. And if you don't think that's going to help Oneil Cruz whenever it happens, then you're kidding yourself. So because of all those reasons, I think that Oneil Cruz is going to finally put it all together in 2026. And if he does, that raises the ceiling for this team more than anybody else on this roster. Offensively, it's a no-brainer. But in total, it's also Oneil Cruz at number one. I'd say Paul Skenes at number two, simply because how much more can Paul Skenes give than he did in 2025? The Pirates finished with 70-some-odd wins, with Paul Skenes having a Cy Young season. How much better can he do in 2026? And how much does that raise the ceiling from where it already was with him being insane? I'm not saying that Oneil Cruz has a chance to be the most important player on the Pirates. That will always be Paul Skenes. But if everybody is playing to their potential, Oneil Cruz's difference between last year and this year is going to raise the ceiling more than any player within this organization. So he is my offensive X factor for the Pirates. The next time that we come to you for one of these videos, spring training will be underway. Pitchers and catchers will have reported, and the countdown will begin to opening day 2026 against the New York Mets. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Remember, if you enjoy this content, to like, share, and subscribe to my channel at Nick Belsky.